Hello everybody, welcome to this brand new live edition of UC Sports. I'm Richardson alongside Anthony DiBernardo. It's our first show of the semester and it's premiere week here at UCTV. We have brand new original content, we have a brand new logo and a brand new watermark. And basically this is our time where we get to basically show off what UCTV's been working on. But Anthony, what do we have going on in the show?
Well, a few days ago, the women's hockey team had their final home game of the season. It was senior day, and you, Will, were there to call the action. Let's see what you got for us.
Richardson reporting from inside the Friedrichs Ice Forum where the UConn women's ice hockey team faced off against Northeastern. This game was a valiant effort by both teams, ending in a 2-2 draw, and the goals were just basically being interchanged between the two teams. UConn got on the board first in the first period by a goal by Kayla Campero. It was a power play goal, and essentially UConn just looked to take advantage and carry the momentum on senior day, but then Northeastern capitalized on another power play and getting a goal by Haley Masters. Then UConn got another goal at the end of the second period by Sarah McDonnell. And then in the third period, Northeastern got a goal by Tatum Claremont. Basically, there were 11 power plays combined between the two teams. A very, very physical game. Tempers were flying. Aggression was at an all-time high. Unfortunately, UConn did lose one of their players at the third period. Lexi Lurch, she took a headshot to the boards. She was unable to move for a couple of minutes, but she was able to get up and eventually get off the ice. Post-game, we were able to talk to Coach Chris McKenzie as well as players Sarah McDonnell and Emily Snodgrass, so let's go ahead and check that out. How did your team play this game?
It was just another great effort by our team. We're hard-working, came out well. It became a special teams game. All goals were scored on the power play, and we had a few chances there, especially in overtime, to really get it done. Didn't happen, and we now have our 8th tie of the year, which is, I think it ties a program record.
You mentioned this game being a special teams game, but 11 penalties between the two of you guys. Is that more along discipline, or is that just more with the nature of the game?
The nature of the game, I think it was getting physical. The refs were calling it a certain way. They were fairly consistent for the most part. Sometimes there's games like that. There's just a lot of penalties, a lot of penalty minutes, and we were able to do a pretty good job. They had the best power play. They did score on it, but we had a lot of good efforts from a lot of our players. So that's what I'm proud of. Well, I think just the senior class, probably the last half of the season, the last 10 games for sure, have been really focused. Knowing that the clock's kind of ticking here on their career, and they've really kind of asserted themselves and played well. And it's just you get rewarded with goals when that happens. And they could have had more. I'm proud, and I'll tell you, I'm going to miss that senior class. They're just a good group of people. They provided a lot of great things that are going to help our program down the road, even when they're not here. The spirit of them will still be there.
Now, looking forward, what's the one thing you and your team needs to work on as the playoffs come closer?
I think just learning to play with a lead. We've had leads here and we haven't been able to keep them. Just learning to be comfortable, in a one-goal game where we have a lead and just really look to assert ourselves. I think we were looking to do that this third period. We had a lot of chances just to kind of get another one and maybe seal the deal. But that's just something that, hope if it comes, hey, it comes. That's what we're looking for.
Sarah, this game was a 2-2 tie. How much was this game an improvement from yesterday's game?
It was a battle, just like yesterday. I think obviously today we played a full 60 minutes, 60-plus minutes today, but that was war out there on the ice, so it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, couldn't get the win, but it was a nice end to our seniors' careers. So.
Now, you mentioned your senior career being over here at UConn. How important was it for you to get a goal on senior day in front of your parents and family?
Goals don't really matter. It's all about playing well and how the team does. It was nice to get that go-ahead goal, but it would have been really nice to get the next one in overtime too, obviously. But at the end of the day, goals don't matter. It's about how the team does at the end of the day.
Now, you mentioned the game being aggressive, 11 penalties between the two teams. What was it like being in that kind of game where it's just physically grueling?
Like I said earlier, it was war out there on the ice. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, it's nice to play 5-on-5 sometimes, but no, it's a lot of fun when like two great teams are battling like that. And at the end of the day, it's a great hockey game by two great teams.
Now, the season's coming up to a close, so what's the one thing you and the team need to work on as the hockey's playoffs come up?
I think we got to continue getting better each and every game, which I think we're starting to do that this weekend. We saw some improvements, and going into Maine next weekend, we just got to keep building and building so that we can really peak by playoffs. And I think we're rolling right now. I think the train's heading in the right direction, so hopefully it keeps on rolling.
Emily, this game was a 2-2 tie. How impressive was your team's play compared to the game yesterday?
I don't think that I can ever say that I'm not proud of my team, but today especially, you could tell that the entire team was battling pretty hard for the seniors. And as someone who's coming to the end of my career here, it meant a lot to see how hard my team played today.
Now, you being a senior, how great was it to see Kayla and Sarah get those goals in this game?
It was awesome. There's nothing better than seeing, the people that are being honored that day turn out to be great leaders on the ice as well. And I couldn't be more proud.
Now, this game was very intense, 11 penalties between the two teams. What was it like playing this game, the aggressions and the tempers flaring up?
When it comes down to penalties, it's always a difficult one. I think we kept our heads really well, killed off the penalties very well, and then obviously our power play worked pretty well today. So we battled through that. It obviously isn't something we like to see, but we played really well despite that.
Now, what's the goal for the team moving forward?
The goal is to go as far in the Hockey East tournament as we possibly can, obviously with the championship in mind, and for the seniors personally to end on a great note because it's been a great 4 years here.
So you heard what Chris McKenzie and players Snodgrass and McDonnell had to say. This was a great game, great atmosphere. It was senior day for the UConn women's ice hockey team. So they were honoring their 6 senior members, and their names are as follows: Emily Walsh, Rachel Farrell, Rebecca Fleming, Sarah McDonnell, Kayla Campero, and Emily Snodgrass. Those 6 seniors for UConn will be graduating at the end of the semester, but they will not go down without a fight. They're looking to continue their season play and hopefully make a move to the Hockey East playoffs. From Frida's Ice Forum, I'm William Richardson, and this is UC Sports.
It's work like that. That's why the chicks dig me, I'll tell you.
You know me. Would I let you down? Come here and hug me.
And welcome back to this brand new live edition of UC Sports here on Premiere Week here at UCTV. I'm now joined at the desk by none other than Fatmir Alickolli. DeBrusk is going to talk a little men's basketball, but first, the men's did have a game against Tulsa a few weeks back. Cheyenne Baker was there to call the action, so let's see what she had to say.
I'm reporting from the XL Center, where the UConn men's basketball team just defeated the #1 team in their conference, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, by a score of 70-45. This was a very impressive victory for the Huskies. The team got off to a strong start, going on a 10-0 run, and it just never stopped. Ryan Boatwright finished with 23 points and 8 assists. Rodney Purvis finished with 17 points. Daniel Hamilton finished with a double-double with 11 points and 11 rebounds, and Amita Brima had 7 blocks and 9 points. I got a chance to catch up with Coach Kevin Ollie and starters Ryan Boatwright, Daniel Hamilton, and Rodney Purvis after the game, so let's see what they had to say.
Them guys are executing, and it's not just executing when we plan, it's really the 2 hours in practice. And if we go an hour, they really paying attention to details, and that's the thing that's getting us over the hump and keeping us in game. So we want to just keep having that, keep getting better and better each and every day, and everybody taking the challenge on and being accountable.
Coming off a national championship, it wouldn't be right going to the NIT. So we just got to come out every game like it's our last game and not take it for granted, and play every possession like it's our last possession.
That team killed us a few games back, I feel like we're a different team now. So just focus and practice, and having some carryover to the game.
We don't got too much time left. 7 more games. Tough turnaround coming to SMU Saturday. It's going to be a tough road. It's a road game. We got to go out there and take care of business. I think the sense of urgency is there, just to see that our season is coming to an end and we control our own destiny. I think the guys are really buying into that and taking it very seriously.
The Huskies look to keep this momentum going when they face another conference rival, SMU, away this Saturday in Texas. Reporting for UCTV Sports, I'm Cheyenne Baker.
Well, of course, that game against Tulsa was one of the high points of this season for the UConn men's team, but of course, this has been a rocky season for the UConn Huskies, including a low point just a few days ago in that blowout road loss to SMU by a score of 73-55. Of course, Ryan Boatwright led all scorers with 19 points, but now we go to you, Fatmir. Yep. This has been a rather inconsistent season for the UConn Huskies. What have been the main problems that have caused the great wins, but also like at SMU, those bad losses.
Right. Well, you said it's been very consistent. They haven't had a winning streak of over 3 games the entire season. Just when you think they're starting to turn around, the next game they'll just absolutely lose it. You saw, again, they scored 106 points one game, and then the next game against Yale just scored 44 points. And one of the biggest troubles is Ryan Boatwright has done too much for this team. He's absolutely carried it right now, averaging 18 points a game, leads the AAC, but you need other players to get involved. Daniel Hamilton, incredible talent, but still raw freshman. Like, he's having a good year, but it's been him, especially lately. Last 6 games, he's led the team in scoring. You need other players to get involved because they have incredible lack of size. You saw it against SMU. That was a huge downgrade for them. So you need other players involved.
You know, we have Brima, you have Kasey, you have a few front court recruits that came in this season. Just haven't seen a lot of playing time. Rebounding has been a weakness for the UConn Huskies this season. But Cam, we go to you. There's less than 10 games left in this season, and they're not mathematically out of winning their conference. Of course, they still have their conference championship tournament. What do they have to do to turn this season around going into that conference championship tournament?
Well, they definitely have to do a lot. And going off of what Fatmir was saying, one of the things they need to do is they need a third scorer. Boatwright and Hamilton, Daniel Hamilton, are the only players averaging double digits in points per game right now. And overall as a team, they're 239th in the nation in points, which is not, you're not going to win games by doing that. So they need a third scorer, and they have some possibilities. They have Calhoun, they have Purvis, and they have Brima. And they're all pretty close to double digits for points per game, but they're all lacking something in their game. They're not complete players. Brima draws too many fouls, and he's a raw talent. He's only played a couple years of basketball so far. Calhoun doesn't play defense very well, and Purvis turns the ball over a lot. He's averaging 2 turnovers per game, and he really doesn't get that many minutes. So that's a big problem, and that leads into the second thing they need to do, is they need to limit their turnovers. So as a team this year, they're averaging 12 turnovers per game, and against SMU, they had 15. So that's absolutely unacceptable. You can't just give away 15 of your chances to score when you're really not scoring that much anyways. So what they need to do going into this tournament, which is the only way they're going to make the NCAA tournament is by winning the conference tournament. They need somebody to step up scoring the basketball, somebody who can average double-digit points per game, and they need to limit their turnovers. They need to get under 10 turnovers per game if they want to win.
And you mentioned that that conference tournament. It is here at the XL Center. That home court should help the UConn Huskies. And, of course, you mentioned the turnovers. Kevin Ollie, their head coach, has always been preaching a better assist-to-turnover ratio. Now, the big question that nobody really wants to ask, but I'm going to ask you guys anyway.
Absolutely.
Will the defending champion UConn Huskies make the 2015 NCAA tournament? Fatmir, yes or no?
I'm sorry, Husky fans, but it is not going to happen this year. You have Memphis, a very tough team, coming up next, but you also have SMU again. And just by going off that game, you saw nothing that could indicate that they could beat them again. It was complete domination.
Cam, yes or no? Do they make the tournament?
I'm going to have to say no. I don't. They have to win their conference tournament. I don't think that I don't think they can beat the kinds of teams that are going to be in that tournament. SMU, Memphis, Tulsa. They don't have the talent. I don't think so.
Well, coming up, Will Richardson comes back to the desk to talk about women's basketball, so stick around and we'll be right back.
And welcome back. I'm here alongside Chris Brennan. We're going to talk about women's basketball. UConn women's basketball recently regained the #1 seed, #1 team in the country again. But before that, they had 2 pretty monumental games, I should say. The first game being against Cincinnati. Gino Auriemma won his 900th game as a head coach. The fastest coach to do it, won it in only 1,034 games. He's just an amazing coach. Brennan, what do you think Gino Auriemma's impact is on UConn?
Well, the fact that he did it all with just one team is just that much more impressive. 902 total victories. He's going for his 903rd tonight. 9 titles. And he really resurrected that program. He put them on the map. And it's huge for this program because the men's team has also done well over the last 15 years. And people call University of Connecticut the basketball capital of the world, and that's not just the men's, it's also the women's. And we were talking off air a little bit about how we kind of take it for granted, but a guy like Gino Auriemma is hard to find, one who can uplift a program like that and also stay loyal. So he's meant so much to this program.
Definitely. I mean, me personally, just being at the 900th game and watching Gino Auriemma coach, and just the way that he's able to get to his players and relate to them on a personal level is just something that you don't really see in coaching that much. And now, after that game, he played against South Carolina. It was a 1-versus-2 matchup, and UConn was just dominant in that game, as you know, as they've tended to be all season. What did you see from UConn in that game?
Well, a big step in this season was the Memphis game prior to that. Was a couple of people got sat in that game. It was Breanna Stewart, also Kia Stokes, and Morgan Tuck, and that played a huge role in that game. Morgan Tuck ended up stepping up huge. Breanna Stewart ended up having 22 points, but that Memphis game, Gino Auriemma, sometimes coaches' messages become a little stale to the players. But one thing that Gino Auriemma is great is keeping his teams motivated. And that's very hard to do when you win all these games. So what he did was he sat his players, said that maybe they weren't playing up to a high enough standard, kind of re-energized and refocused this team, and then they just came out swinging in that South Carolina game.
Absolutely. And in the South Carolina game, one of the things that we saw more than anything was, I think, that you saw how dominant UConn is on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, you know, UConn scored 85-plus points in that game, but South Carolina isn't an offensive lightweight. Like, they get points, and they just completely shut them down.
Yeah, I mean, one of the top coaches in the country, Dawn Staley, she's a great coach. She's really uplifted that program as well, and they actually had the #1 recruit. They totally neutralized her all game long, and it was just awesome to see that the UConn came out in all facets of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, again, the South Carolina game was just one of those games where Gamble was electric. Fans were excited to see their #1 team, or their team that they thought was #1. They were excited to see that team just kind of just do their own thing. I mean, it was just something that you have to kind of watch in person. I just think it's just a great thing to see UConn women's basketball just being dominant as always. I mean, what do you think about the team moving forward?
Well, moving forward, it's going to be tough because they have a light schedule the rest of the way, and you have to try and find a way to stay motivated. And Gino Auriemma tried that against Memphis. It ended up working out. But playing teams like Tulsa down the stretch, teams that aren't exactly powerhouses, you have to stay focused. There's a bigger goal in mind, and it's to win a national championship. So I think it's going to be tough for them once it gets down into the tournament time. They might hit a snag where they're going to have to come from behind in a game, but ultimately they're going to be there. They're going to be there, and when you have the best player in the country in Breanna Stewart, also Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis and Mariah Jefferson, you're always going to have a chance to win. But I think Gino Auriemma is going to have one more message where he can refocus his team, and then they'll end up being fine.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to see how the UConn women's basketball team handles Houston tonight. But that wraps it up for us here. Stick around, and we'll be right back after a quick commercial break. And welcome back. Here back with Anthony DiBernardo. Essentially, this is the end of our show, but don't worry, this is not the last that you'll see us. We have a brand new live show coming up next week. Same format, different cast. Anthony, what did you think about today's show?
This was a great show. It's part of Premiere Week here at UCTV. We had a great first show. There's plenty more to come this semester. We had fun today. We're going to have a lot more fun. We've had fun today, just like a certain Twitter war that occurred earlier today between UConn and a really old rival that I can't really remember because they're never that good.
I think that was Syracuse.
It was Syracuse. I think so. I think they were complaining about the snow and trying to keep warm with their orange spirit. And you know what we keep warm with? We keep warm with the I don't have enough fingers. 13 national championships.
All right. So to give you guys a little bit of background, basically UConn had a tweet talking about us getting some snow here on campus. And Syracuse retaliated with a tweet saying that our orange spirit keeps us warm. Keeps us warm. UConn then retaliated with saying that our national championship trophies keep us warm, quote unquote. And it was pretty awful, considering the fact that most schools typically try to shy away from, you know, Twitter wars, as we like to call them in the young demographic.
It was rather great ponage, I might say. Yes, ponage, definitely an industry term. in what we do. Yes, indeed. The only thing that disappointed me is that the picture that UConn showed had only 2 trophies. That doesn't speak volumes to what we have. We have 13. We have 13. If a 16-wheeler wanted to rest a trophy on each wheel, it would still have 3 wheels left over, but only 3. You know how many wheels left over it would have if it had Syracuse's trophy? 15, because they only have 1 trophy. That's really awkward. Jim Boeheim, greatest of all time. I'm sorry, Calhoun, better. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I'm not going to...
You fear Jim Calhoun, and you also fear Kevin Ollie. Undefeated in tournament play. Let's remember that, people.
You're a New England guy.
Undefeated. I am not a New England man.
You're
I am
New
from
England
Long
guy.
Island, New York.
It's okay.
We represent.
It's okay. We know you're from New York.
What's up, Syracuse?
That's all right.
Talking to you.
Well,
we're better than you, and we know it.
Somebody has a little bit of resentment for Syracuse, but that's going to wrap it up for us here. Alongside Anthony DiBernardo, Cam DeBrusk, Fatmir Alickolli, and Chris Brennan, I'm William Richardson. See you guys same time next week.
Go UConn.